Section 2 of the History of Esculent Fish. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The History of Esculent Fish by Roger North. Carp. Leonard Marchal first brought this fish into England about 1514. It is the most valuable of all kinds of fish for stocking ponds because of its quick growth and great increase. If the feeding and breeding of this fish were more understood and practiced, the advantages resulting would be very great, and a fish pond would become as valuable an article as a garden. The gentleman who has land in his own hands may, besides furnishing his own table and supplying his friends, become a source of much profit in money and very considerable advantage to his lands at the same time, so as to make it produce more than by any other employment whatever. The sale of carp makes a considerable part of the revenue of the principal nobility and gentry in Prussia, Pomerania, Brandenburg, Saxony, Mecklenburg, Bohemia, and Holstein. Particular attention should be paid to the soil, water, and situation of a carp pond. The best kind are those which are surrounded by the finest pasture or cornfields, with a rich black mold and soft springs on the spot, or other running water, that is neither too cold or impregnated with acid, calcareous, selenetic, or other serenous mineral particles. The water may be softened by exposing it to the air or sun in a reservoir, or by forming an open channel for it some distance from the pond. They should be exposed to the influence of the sun and sheltered from the eastern and northerly winds. By experience, it is found convenient to have three kinds of ponds for carp, viz., the spawning pond, the nursery, and the main pond. The first pond must be cleared of all other kind of fish, especially those of the rapacious kind, such as the perch, pike, eel, and trout, the water beetle, and also of the newts or lizards. It should be exposed to sun and air and be supplied with soft water. A pond of 1 acre requires 3 or 4 male carp and 6 or 8 female ones, and in the same proportion for each additional acre. The best carp for breeding are those of 5, 6, or 7 years old, in good health, with full scale, and fine, full eyes, and a long body, without any blemish or wound. The pond should be stocked in a fine, calm day towards the end of March or beginning of April. Carp spawn in May, June, or July, according to the warmth of the season, and for this purpose they swim to a warm, shady, well-sheltered place where they gently rub their bodies against the sandy ground, grass, or osiers. And by this pressure, the spawn issues out at the spawning season. All sorts of fowl should be kept from the ponds. The young fry is hatched from the spawn by the genial influence of the sun, and should be left in this pond through the whole summer, and even the next winter, provided the pond is deep enough to prevent their suffocation during a hard winter. Then the breeders and the fry are put into ponds safer for their wintering. The second kind of ponds are the nurseries. The young fish should be moved in a fine, calm day into this pond in the months of March or April. 1,000 or 1,200 of this fry may well be accommodated in a pond of 1 acre. When they are first put in, they should be well watched and driven from the sides of the pond, lest they become the prey of rapacious birds. In 2 summers, they will grow as much as to weigh 4, 5, or even 6 pounds, and be fleshy and well tasted. The main ponds are to put those into that measure a foot, head and tail inclusive. Every square of 15 feet is sufficient for 1 carp. Their growth depends on their room and the quantity of food allowed them. The best seasons for stocking the main ponds are spring and autumn. Carp grow for many years and become of considerable size and weight. Mr. Foster mentions seeing in Prussia 200 or 300 carps of 2 and 3 feet in length, and one 5 feet long and 25 pounds weight. It was supposed to be about 60 years old. Gessner mentions one that was 100 years old. These were tame and would come to the side of the pond to be fed, and swallowed with ease a piece of bread half the size of a halfpenny loaf. Ponds should be well supplied with water during the winter, and when they are covered with ice, holes should be opened every day for the admission of fresh air, through want of which carps frequently perish. Carp are sometimes fed during the colder season in a cellar. The fish is wrapped up in a quantity of wet moss, laid on a piece of a net, and then laid into a purse, but in such a manner, however, to admit of the fish breathing. The net is then plunged into water and hung up to the ceiling of the cellar. The dipping must at first be repeated every 3 or 4 hours, but afterwards it need be plunged into the water only once in 6 or 7 hours. Bread soaked in milk is sometimes given him in small quantities. In a short time the fish will bear more and grow fat by this treatment. Many have been kept alive, breathing nothing but air in this way, several successive days. End of section 2.